I'm recording this at the end of having done all the footage because I realised that I didn't actually explain what the justification for this video was. So someone in the UK scene sent me a couple of messages because I told them I just bought an RBXR and they were a little bit concerned about the build quality. Hadn't managed to get a proper look at the internals. So I had a brand new RBXR battery that I bought from Chris at RangeBatt, and I just wanted to have a look at the build quality. So I gave it a bit of a teardown, had a little look at what was going on there. A couple of decent things that I found, a couple of not so good things. It's all in this video. I also then showed sort of the full installation of the battery, some of the problems that I ran into with dremeling out the box. I decided to go with the TorqueBox in the end. I think that the TorqueBox is actually a must-have for any extended range mod, any battery mod on a stock XR and stock controller. I wouldn't be comfortable putting that much pressure on a battery in the stock box, but I understand people do when they install a 15S3P pack. So it's a decision really there. I made the decision I wanted to go for the TorqueBox. It'll get used in the future anyway, I'm sure. But yeah, here's a bit of footage of me looking at the RBXR, opening it up for the first time. So I've taken the shrink wrap off and talking about my findings there. And then a little bit of footage of me modding the TorqueBox to fit the RBXR in. And overall just a bit of a conversation about the extended range battery mod for the stock XR. Right.
Billy's just going to pierce the back.
Just go straight through one of the cells. It's going to be the best way of opening this up.
Oh.
Once you get it going, you can just rip it. Save yourself sticking a knife in the battery.
Right, so this top cell here set on, got the BMS plug. Probably just rip this off. Let's get it going. So it looks like he's used fish paper. The electrical tape on top's not great, but this wrapping's quite nice. I just want to have a look underneath this top layer of fish paper, and then I think I'm happy, to be honest. It looks like it's well constructed, to be honest. Right. It's tightly packed. It's this is, I don't know if this is heat resistant or not, so I'm going to wrap some extra Captain tape just round it.
Probably best to take that bottom one off rather than the top one, because obviously that top cell's sitting on top of the tape.
Yeah, and then we can always wrap some fish paper back round. So, I mean, that's not great, to be honest.
Yeah, it's
a little bit.
You don't shock yourself, but that could do it being clipped back.
Yeah, in fact, I'm going to get some snips and clip it a little bit. So I think that's the one thing for me that's not great on it. Well, actually, the two things for me that I'd like to see is these spot welds seem solid. That's a sharp corner there. These are all sharp corners. And for what I was expecting, based on what I've seen on Instagram, I was expecting this to be copper. And since it doesn't say on the listing, I was going by what is on the Insta. And even if it was not copper, this zinc sheeting should have the corners rounded. The cells themselves, like you can see there, that's an MJ1. Looks to be a genuine cell, looks to be brand new. So that's all good. I'd like this to be wrapped a little bit more solidly, considering we've got this additional cell on the top. The structural integrity, like the structure of the battery, I mean, I'm not going to start bending it, but seems solid.
Not the tidiest balance leads, but
yeah, the balance leads ideally should be run up inside these channels, especially considering the fact that this is going to be going in an original battery pack. So that's not.
I don't know the cell layout that well, so
yeah, that's not great either.
Thing to do. But,
I'm trying to see if I can see any of the soldering. It's hard to see through the tape. Don't really want to start peeling back the structural tape, to be honest. Maybe I'll get. Let's have just a little peek. Looks like a good. I mean, it's got a lot on it, but that looks like a fine solder joint to me, to be honest, at a glance. Yeah. I want Captain tape on here for the heat resistance. I don't know if this is heat resistant tape, so that might be wrong. I need to work out exactly what this tape is and what it's rated for. These balance leads running should ideally be in the grooves so that they're not on top of the batteries and they shouldn't be crossing over. The plating just isn't what I expected. I was expecting higher quality. The welds are fine. They shouldn't have sharp edges. But I'll put a bit of padding in when I put that all on, so hopefully shouldn't be any issues when I install it. This being sat on top seems fine structurally. I'd like it wrapped a bit tighter, but yeah, so I'm going to put some fish paper back on here to cover this all over, get it wrapped up right round, and I'm going to use it. I think it's a perfectly serviceable and fine and usable battery. My main concern is it doesn't match what's shown on Instagram. So I'm just starting to look at putting it back together. I was getting a final look. I mean, you can see here, like, look at this BMS wiring running. Not super happy with that. But then there's a little bit of white stuff. Can I get it to focus? A little bit of something there. It doesn't look like it's hot glue. That looks to be maybe holding a wire in place. So I've no idea what that is. There's a little bit here as well. A little bit there. So it looks like there's something in there. So it'd be interesting to find out what that is. It's just, yeah, it's just this BMS wiring. It looks like it's a safe enough battery. I just was expecting something of slightly higher finish. Again, based on Instagram. And I think that if that's not representative, I know that the ones on Instagram that have the copper plates, they're advertised as high throughput batteries, which is fair, that's fine. But it'd be good to get something representative of what you're going to get in your final build on Instagram as well, rather than just pictures of really high quality builds if that's not representative of what you're going to end up with. Okay, so I haven't done anything with the battery. I haven't touched any of the internals. I didn't do anything with the structural tape. I've just wrapped it solidly round in Captain tape. I've wrapped all this top so it's a little bit more solidly in there, and then I've put a new piece of fish paper on the bottom. I might actually, sorry, I'm not even on the camera. I might put a bit of Captain over this as well, just maybe rewrap this bottom bit slightly with a bit more, just to solid. Put it sorted, and then I've got this Red Wolf electrical tape with a bit of cushioning on it, so I'm going to wrap the battery in this before I put it in. I did think about putting shrink wrap on it, but I think I'd rather get a little bit of cushioning. It's possible I have to take this back off if I can't fit it in the original battery box, but I'll get my Dremel out and have a play and see what we can do. So yeah, I've wrapped it in. I mean, I might do this top bit as well. I'll see what the fit is when I get it actually in the battery box and I've done the Dremel in. I'm happier with that than the state it was in. Obviously it's not shrink wrapped, and I've added a little bit of width, so we'll have to see whether that has an impact when I'm trying to fit it in the box. But I've been told on the forum when I was chatting to people who've installed it that you do have to clamp the lid quite tight. So I'm just happier having a little bit of cushioning in there. And I'm also much happier just having a full heat shield with Captain Tape and isolation. Like you can see here, there's just a little gap running along here, which it's not the end of the world, but that was open to the elements. You could, to the elements inside the battery box. But so yeah, put a little bit extra Captain Tape around the BMS cable as well. I don't know how that routes, but we're going to find out in a bit and see whether that will fit nicely in the box with the BMS. So yeah, there we go. I have modded my old battery box. It was a nightmare getting the bolts out, so I've had to order some new ones. I had to take the heads off a few of them. BMS is all installed, the battery's all installed. I have, at this point in time, without having bolts either, I've got no idea how on earth this thing's going to close. It just doesn't seem safe, but I've ordered some new bolts, so I'll have a look tomorrow. But the board's fully working. Nice. So my TorqueBox just arrived and I've installed the cable. I don't actually have a spanner set, so I used a big old pipe wrench for taking the flange and the nut off. So that's just been taken off. So I've just made a start with the Dremel process. Let's get this pointed down and right way up. So you can see here, when I install the battery, so here's the RBXR battery, when I install it as is now, so you can see it's a bit of a tight fit, but we can just push this down and it goes in. You can see here that the plastic on these forms for where the heat insert nuts are, they're pushing against the battery and pushing against the lid. So if I was going to try and install the lid with it like that, you can see that it is bent slightly out of shape. Now I'm reading through the instructions and it just says remove material as shown. So the material that it's telling me to remove is the plastic here, 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 here and here. So to take out a little bit of plastic there. Now I'm dremeling slightly down to this nut. I'm going to try and not break through the plastic at all, but actually you can see that the knurling on the nut is a bit further down, so I should be able to take this top bit of plastic. And it also wants me to take this ridge out here, so I'm going to have a go at taking that out. And it says specifically, do not force the lid. If it doesn't fit perfectly, remove more material as the steps above. So I'm just gonna follow through with that. I'm not supposed to put a spacer in at the bottom, but I've had a check and I'm fairly sure there's enough space for these cables, for the BMS cables and the light pack cables to run underneath where they need to. So I'll have a look at that again. Might even be able to route them through this channel here. We'll have a little look at that. But the space of the box is just, it's worlds apart from the issues I was having. This is 2 weeks later, by the way, from when I last got footage of this installation, because I've been waiting for them to clear all the Black Friday orders, because I bought this at Black Friday. So you can see here, like, that's just much more flush. Like, much more flush. I'm so much happier with the way that the battery lid sits on there, that you're not crushing the cells down too much. So I'm going to keep on with dremeling, and then we'll have a look how well we can get the battery to just fit in. So let's I'll put that together. Yeah, it's been a few weeks not having my board. I made the decision not to install in the original, in the stock box, because it just seemed a bit sketchy. So with the Black Friday sale I went and bought the TorqueBox. Much easier to install, much better fit. Overall, still not 100% happy with the RBXR. I think that the build itself could have been slightly higher quality. Wasn't massively happy with the fact that the zinc hadn't been rounded. Wasn't massively happy with the routing of the BMS cables. Overall, yeah, really decent pack. I've charged it up, the BMS is ready absolutely fine, it all fits really nicely in the TorqueBox, and I think this is a really worthwhile install. So yeah, if it's something that you're worried about, I hope this video has helped you. I really would not recommend putting it in the stock battery box. I think that buying the TorqueBox is pretty much a must-have for this mod. I wouldn't put it in a stock box. I know a lot of people do and they've been fine doing it. It's just not something that I would want to do, and it's not something that I would recommend. But yeah, overall, a really good mod. So cheers, Chris.